So many of us, millions of us, start our day the exact same way, right? With a great cup of coffee. But what if that very first cup, the one we drink before anything else, is actually setting us up for failure?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Is drinking coffee first thing on an empty stomach a totally harmless ritual, or is it a hidden health risk? You hear so much noise about this, so let's just cut through all of it and find out what the science actually has to say. All right, let's just dive right in and tackle the biggest worry first. Myth number one, digestive distress. The idea that your morning coffee is basically just pouring acid into your empty stomach? Let's look at that. So this really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got the common belief that coffee's acidity is going to cause all sorts of problems, like heartburn, indigestion, maybe even ulcers. But then you look at the science and, well, the story's completely different. Years and years of research just haven't found a strong link between drinking coffee, even black coffee, and these big digestive issues for most people. And here's the key takeaway, really. Sure, a few people might be extra sensitive, and that's fair. But for the vast majority of us, studies show there's no real difference. Your stomach's going to react pretty much the same way whether you have that coffee with a big breakfast or all by itself. Okay, so if it's probably not our stomach, what about our stress levels? That brings us to myth number two, the cortisol spike, the idea that a morning coffee kind of hijacks our hormones and sends our stress through the roof. The fear is all about this thing called cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. It's already naturally high when you wake up, so the theory goes that adding coffee on top creates this dangerous double spike. But the reality is, your body is smarter than that. If you're a regular coffee drinker, your body actually adapts, and that cortisol response gets much, much smaller. And for anyone, that little bump it might cause, it's super brief. And this quote from the research, it really just hits the nail on the head. That tiny, temporary peak in cortisol is not the same thing as the chronic, dangerously high levels that actually cause health problems. That's way more likely to come from a medical condition, not your morning latte. All right, so if the big myths about drinking coffee on an empty stomach don't really hold up, does that mean coffee gets a total free pass? Well, not exactly. It's time we pivot the conversation away from when you drink it and start focusing on coffee's real risks. You might want to remember this number, 400 milligrams. That's the daily caffeine limit that experts recommend for most healthy adults. We're talking about 4, maybe 5 standard cups of coffee. This is the number that actually matters, not what time your alarm goes off. Because once you start pushing past that 400 milligram ceiling, that's when you can invite a whole host of real issues. And it doesn't matter if your stomach is full or empty. We're talking things like anxiety, that jittery, restless feeling, even heart palpitations. Too much caffeine can trigger headaches, it can spike your blood pressure, and it can absolutely wreck your sleep. See the pattern here? The problem isn't the empty stomach, it's the dose. So, after busting the myths and looking at the real risks, what's the final verdict? What should you actually do? Well, the answer isn't in some scientific journal, it's in you. Honestly, it all comes down to these 2 really simple steps. First, just pay attention. Tomorrow morning after your coffee, just notice how you actually feel. Do you feel energized and clear-headed, or do you feel kind of jittery and off? And second, if you do feel any discomfort, just adjust your routine. Maybe try having a small snack with your coffee and see if that makes a difference. And that really is the bottom line. There is no one-size-fits-all rule here. The science just doesn't back up this widespread fear about coffee on an empty stomach. So if it makes you feel bad, add a little food. But if you feel fantastic, then please keep enjoying that morning ritual, completely guilt-free. Which leaves us with one final, and I think crucial thought. Maybe we've all been asking the wrong question this whole time. Maybe the most important factor for your health isn't when you have that first cup, but how many more you have after it.